Hi, and welcome to the Your Story Studios podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things content creation. And today I'm joined by Henry, and today we are going to be talking about daily vlogging, daily posting. Tell me, Henry, what has been your experience with posting content daily?
So for context, there's been a couple different platforms that I posted on pretty much daily, 7 days a week, not 5 days a week, apart from LinkedIn. And that happened from, I think it was end of April, all the way through till I think the end of July, maybe the start of, mid-July, I reckon. So
2024.
Pretty much, yeah. I think the daily vlog got up to 74 days straight. And then I think LinkedIn was far longer. I think it was from March till July or something, 14 weeks from memory. And that was every weekday, so Monday to Friday, posting every single day. And also posted it on Instagram. So in the Reels feed, I posted at least one Reel per day for, I think, 60 to 90 days from memory as well. So yeah, all of those three things and completely separate content, completely separate audiences, completely separate intentions as well.
What made you think, I want to post content daily?
I think what started first. So LinkedIn started first, but we might get into that later because that was more of a business venture. In terms of the daily vlog itself, that actually I was just on a walk one day listening to a podcast. It was a Gary Vee podcast, funnily enough. And he said, why doesn't someone just try, I don't know, like vlogging on your stories? And I'm like, why don't I do that? And for context, I always used to love watching vlogs. I watched Peter McKinnon's vlogs back in the day. I always watched Casey Neistat's, plenty of other vloggers as well. And I also did vlogs in the past on my YouTube channel and whatnot when I was younger. And I always have been fascinated with the idea of vlogging. I love sharing kind of things. I love just kind of showing everyday kind of things. And I decided, hey, I think it was 3 days later, I'm like, I'm just going to start it. There was no context. There was nothing behind it. The main idea, there was a bit of a strategy behind it where it's just being, I guess, more top of mind for people, which happened really well, surprisingly. But yeah, I just started posting daily on my story. So pretty much I would document my entire day. And what that would look like is I would start the day with pretty much a number, which was the day that I kind of did. And then I would explain what was going on for that day. And then I would do a lot of time lapses or shots throughout the day, either explaining thoughts that I had, showcasing music sometimes. There was a bunch of slides where I showed all the items that ticked off for the morning. So some of them being, say, work-related tasks. So even if that's cleaning the house, it was kind of showing the entire life to a lot of people without having to do a fancy YouTube vlog like Casey Neistat. I'd still love to do that one day. I just don't have the time. So the idea behind it was Instagram was really easy to vlog on stories. It was there for 24 hours. So people wanted to watch it every day. It wasn't like, I'll watch it 3 days later. It was like, you've got 24 hours to kind of see the thing. And also it worked really well because I was already posting from shoots that I was doing and whatnot. So I was just showing up every single day on people's feed and just trying to show my personal, I guess, process, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And I guess, what that's leading to as well. So
stories and reels, they're two different things. In hindsight, do you regret going the stories path as opposed to doing reels? Because as you just said, stories, 24 hours, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have an archive of all the different kind of daily vlog things that you've done? Or are you content with the kind of disposable content idea?
I'm actually content with the disposable content idea. I do regret though. So I actually turned on, there's a settings you can set on in Instagram where you save every post. And I didn't have that on for I don't know how many days at the start. So there's a bunch of content at the start of the vlog that I don't have. But as soon as I turn that on, I've got every single clip, every single post that I made. So I have all that stuff and I can use that for other collateral if I want to as well. But I think I guess I could have done it on Reels, and I did see people doing things like that on Reels. I just didn't want to. I think it was probably the video production perfectionist in me that I want to, if I'm making something that's a reel or something, I want music behind it. I want to edit it. I want to edit it to that. I want to make it engaging, punchy, quick, things like that. Whereas with the stories, it was just pull it out and record. There was no editing. It was just record, maybe put auto captions on top that were most of the time wrong, and post it. And I guess that was the best part about it is I didn't have to think about it. Whereas I think with Reels, I would have had sat back and been like, I've got to edit this and find music for it. And then all of a sudden it turns something that might have been a minute into an hour throughout the entire day. But yeah, I think in hindsight, no, I don't regret it. But I do think there's also a really good opportunity to vlog on Reels as well. I think it's just which one fits your lifestyle a bit more.
Yeah. And when you were doing this daily story content, how did you make it sustainable to last as long as it did?
So I think that the main thing with me was just every morning that would be one of the first things I did. And that meant that I got that one story out. I also didn't say I need to post 5 times a day. There was some days where I posted twice and that was it. And there was plenty of other days where I posted 10 times. And I think the easiest way for me to make it sustainable was just I always recorded at particular points in my day. So sometimes when I was going out before I would get to my car, I would just film while I was like walking to my car. And it's a very simple thing, but it's like it was a point in my day where I could just quickly do it and it didn't kind of slow me down from other things. I also use time lapses heaps, which is an easy way to show the passing of time and pretty much just put music behind it and then maybe some text. And most of the time, I think it was just think of something I want to talk about and then post it. There wasn't this massive megamind strategy behind it where I had to follow these specific steps. It was just very loose, easy. And I think stories enabled that as well because stories allowed me to just, I guess, just post, just film, post and not have to worry about any editing or whatnot. So I suppose, I think stories was definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And you mentioned time lapses. Did you have a specific app that you used to do that?
No, I just used the iPhone camera app. I did. That said, CapCut was really handy throughout the whole thing because a lot of the time lapses from the iPhone would turn out to be 30 seconds long. And that might just because I recorded for, I think, an hour and a half. And one thing actually that did come to mind is a lot of the time to make it sustainable, I had just phone mounts in my office and I would just attach that to, I've got like a light dome similar to what we've got above us right now. And I just attached it to the stand that was on. And it just meant that I could literally put my phone up there and put a time lapse on, didn't even have to think about it, just kind of happened in the background. And it was actually really good because I was also not distracted by my phone because it was up there doing a time lapse. But yeah, things like CapCut also made it easier because I could just cut that down from 30 seconds to 10 seconds, just speed it all up. I think, for the most part, I just used the iPhone's kind of normal cameras and just the inbuilt, I guess, Instagram apps and features and the auto captions. That was one thing that a lot of people liked as well. So just, I guess, utilizing all the features of the platform without having to, I guess, do more editing.
Yeah, I think utilizing, from what I've heard, utilizing the native things or tools inside of Instagram can help with organic reach. Did you find that in any way or is that just hearsay?
I don't know. Actually, it'd be interesting to go back and look because I can have a look at all the kind of statistics behind a lot of that, but I wouldn't say so. I think I learned a bunch about, I guess, Instagram stories while doing this, obviously. But yeah, I think just using the Instagram stuff was the easiest way. I didn't really experiment too much with. I did do some graphics outside of that and then pull them in and make it a bit fancier. I think the vlog, as you kind of, if you watched it back from start to finish, it definitely degraded in quality because I was like, I just don't have the time. I just want to get the content out. But yeah, I think I didn't really see any difference between using external things or Instagram natively, I suppose.
And also with the captions, when you mentioned that, I've heard the stat that 75% of videos that are consumed online are done without audio. So if you're doing like a daily vlog or something like that, people are just going to see.
Yeah.
And then they'll just tap to the next one or whatever. But if you've got the auto-generated captions, can you correct those or is that?
Yes, you can. Most of the time, again, it was just a speed thing. I was just like in and out. Like if it's wrong, people would probably figure out what I was saying anyway. If there were specific things I was saying that I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound right, and I kind of caught them, I would correct them. But yeah, I think, yeah, as you said, I from day one, I knew that I wanted captions of some sort just because people just, again, they watch it with like volume off all the time. You might be waiting for a coffee. It's like you don't want to have your phone just blaring out like, hey guys, I'm Henry. You know what I mean? So
some people don't care, but you don't want to be that person.
I don't, definitely not. So yeah, having captions, especially natively in Instagram, just made it so much easier.
So going from Instagram, let's now talk about LinkedIn. What kind of content were you posting on LinkedIn?
So LinkedIn was a completely different strategy. Anytime that I had a shoot, post about the shoot, just shows that you're busy. And most of the time I try and take a behind the scenes shot if I can. I think I got to a point, for LinkedIn, I was just posting about video production. So I guess the audience was marketing people, it was clients, it was potential people, and it didn't have to get a lot of reach for everything. It was more just I was connecting with a lot of people on LinkedIn at the time. And when you connect with someone and they do actually like what you're doing, they're like, oh, actually, I do need a video. They can see that you're posting. They're like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. And even if you're not getting crazy engagement on every single post, it's also been really helpful to see with LinkedIn. It's like what works. It's like by posting 5 times a week, you get, and then over 14 weeks, again, that's a lot of content to look back and be like, what went well? What didn't go so well? Was it the photo? Was it what was in there? Was it the hook? So many different things. And I think it also helped a lot just to, when you post on a platform so consistently, you just start to figure out, oh, that's what works. That's what I go do. That's what I could improve on here. But yeah, with LinkedIn specifically, it was mainly just for work purposes. It was trying to, again, different platform, different people. And my audiences for Instagram and LinkedIn are very separate. There's a lot of people that see me on Instagram, but have no idea I post on LinkedIn. And a lot of people on LinkedIn that have no idea I have an Instagram account. So I think it was mainly about maximizing the amount of people that were aware of me at the time. And then on LinkedIn, I guess also showing, hey, this is some valuable advice for people if they want to do video.
I don't know a lot about LinkedIn. What works on LinkedIn?
So with LinkedIn, you just have to be on any social platform, you want to be like client or customer centric. So you want to make sure that it is about them or providing value to them. LinkedIn, people are just in a different frame of mind. They're there for business. So you can be a bit more, hey, I make videos and this is what you should do. Whereas on Instagram, you got to be a bit more, I guess, fun. You got to be more engaging, especially if it's a video, obviously. On LinkedIn, it's a lot more written text. So your hooks have to be really good because especially on mobile, you can only really see one line. So you want to obviously spark curiosity or show expertise, or people are like, oh, I have to open this. And often also the photo has to kind of go with that as well. So I think for LinkedIn, it's also, again, with most social platforms, but particularly LinkedIn, I found that posting at specific times also is a big thing. And you got to just think about, when would people be on LinkedIn? Like I don't think people on a Sunday night, they're on the couch, they're going to be like, oh, let me just scroll through LinkedIn. And some people are, but majority of people, most of the time, they might be on Instagram or TikTok instead. So I think it's more figuring out when your audience is there, what you can provide value for them as well. And just being more work-centric. It doesn't have to be like, it doesn't always have to be this is how to make the best video, but it can be about, what's some time management things that you have. And still being very personable, talking about yourself, talking about what you do, but it's more just, hey, how can people, I guess, enjoy their work more? Or did you know this? Or did you just see this, I guess, video? So people are just in a different frame of mind on LinkedIn. I guess if you approach it through that work aspect, your content will probably be a lot more engaged with.
Yeah. So on LinkedIn, you mainly just posted photos with a whole bunch of copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No video.
I did do some videos. So some of the videos I did for Instagram on Reels, I did cross post. There was one particular video at the start of the year I did for LinkedIn when I was recording some of my website sales kind of internal videos. There was a bunch of times that I messed up and I just put it into a compilation. And when a video professional shows that they mess up all the time on camera, it's people like it. People engage with it a lot because it's just relatable. A lot of clients that I have, they'll mess up on camera and then they'll kind of get in their heads, and showing that, I do the exact same thing. And for me personally, I've talked to the camera on the vlogs, on a bunch of reels, on content on YouTube, the 50 videos I made before I got a job. I've talked to the camera a lot and I still mess up all the time. And showing that to people, that's kind of what they want. So I think video for LinkedIn is something that I think will only become more effective because all the platforms are moving towards video. And I think LinkedIn is slowly moving towards that. And I have seen some, I guess, shifts in what they're doing. And I think moving forward, even talking to people about LinkedIn video, especially as well, it's definitely caught my interest. And I think I'll be looking to do that within my, I guess, if I do start posting again on LinkedIn regularly, video will probably be once a week or something. It will be a lot more kind of involved. But at the time when I was posting, I think written and photos, that's what you'll majoritively find on LinkedIn. And people are much more likely to read a long post on LinkedIn than a long caption on Instagram per se. It's not that video doesn't work. It's more just they haven't prioritized as much as Instagram or TikTok, obviously. But I think moving forward, it's a big market that could be filled.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You've mentioned TikTok a couple of times. Do you have an account?
I do not. I did think about cross-posting, but at the end of the day, I think for me, it's the less platforms I can focus on, but have more effort putting into each piece of content on there. I think that is kind of my focus. And I also don't consume TikTok almost at all for myself. I Reels, yes, there's been potential, like plenty of times where I've been sucked down there, but TikTok, I've just never been that interested in the content. I think it's just how I view the platform. And I also think that building an audience on TikTok isn't as valuable as building one on LinkedIn or Instagram. And that's just because of the algorithm works as well.
Well, that's all very fair enough. And let's now talk about results. What kind of results did you see from doing this daily content posting?
So with the daily content posting, LinkedIn, I did start to get more engagement and then less engagement and then more. It was just all over the shop. But I did start to figure out, these posts will do really well. Or this is how to get a lot of comments or reach or things like that on LinkedIn. So it was mostly just figuring out how to make better content on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a tricky thing where you think something's going to work and then it doesn't. Again, with most social platforms, I think the biggest, results that I got were from doing the daily vlog on Instagram. Because I was showing up every day, people could see my personality. Like it felt like you knew me better. And it was kind of almost like long form content, where people watch you for 10 minutes on on YouTube. Like they just feel like they know you more. And I think by doing that every day for 74 days and a lot of people watching that same vlog again over those 74 days, I had a lot of people responding to comments. I could ask like a question on a story and get a bunch of personal results from professionals in the field. If there was a piece of gear I was wondering about, if there was, hey, I'm struggling to manage my time, what do people do? I would get like 5 to 10 people like just coming back. And before that, I would have never had that happen before as well. And I also just got a lot more engagement on there. As an example, I haven't been posting for a couple of weeks just because I've been taking a break, but I posted yesterday and the amount of engagement I got was insane because people were like, oh, he posted again. And because I did that long stretch, there's a lot of people that are keeping an eye out for that now. And that's been, I think it's hard to kind of describe the impact that can have until you do it yourself. And I'm not saying everyone should do it themselves. It's a lot of work and not everyone's wanting to kind of be on camera. But I do think that the opportunities I got, I started getting a lot of people reaching out to me instead of me reaching out to them for networking. People were just paying more attention to what I was doing. I got more referrals that time because I was more top of mind with people. It was just like the brand awareness or the personal awareness that people had for me during that time was bigger. And I can tell, especially after stopping, that like it changes, it shifts because people are just thinking about you less. And when you're posting all the time, you're just top of mind. And as soon as something comes up that you would be perfect for, they're immediately going to kind of mention it. So I think the biggest part was just, a lot of people being like, oh, Henry, and seeing me over and over and over again. It was that was the main thing that I kind of saw in terms of results.
It's not just engagement, it's also networking, it's referrals, it's ultimately money in your bank.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day as well. And Henry, looking into the future, is there anything in particular that would make you want to start daily vlogging again?
Yes. I think it's funny. I actually wanted to restart the daily vlog after I became unsick. I recovered, I suppose you could say. And what happened was I got too excited and I started to do a YouTube vlog at the same time. And I ended up just talking to 2 cameras, doing the same thing every day. And that took a lot more time than what I was originally doing. But I also enjoyed the YouTube side a lot more. I guess that's kind of like what I'm drawn to. So it just created a conflict where I just stopped doing both because it's just too much. And then ever since then, I've just spent the past, I guess, a couple of weeks, maybe months. I don't remember exactly when it stopped. But to kind of step back and focus more on what I want to do in future, I think I don't know if I would start daily vlogging again on stories. I want a vlog at some point. I would love to document the journey. That might be in short form content. That might be in longer form vlogs. That might be in some other way. I think the documentation aspect and the vlog style will still remain, but I don't think the format that I previously did will stay. And that's just because I think for me, it's a lot of mental energy thinking about, I've got to vlog this, I've got to do this, and I've got to do that.
On top of client work as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wouldn't ask anyone to do it either. But I do think I saw the value in it and I still want to document the process and show people what I'm doing. It's just I want to do it in a way where it doesn't have to be a daily thing that's on the back of my mind all the time. I think, it's been, again, to be sustainable in all the other things I'm doing, I also have to cut back that. So stories, I think I still want to keep some aspects of the vlog, but not necessarily post every day, not necessarily post about XYZ. So yeah, I at this stage probably won't be coming back, but it might come back in different forms, and you'll probably see different bits and pieces from that taken and put into other pieces of content as well. So that's what I'm excited about. And I also always listen to the people around me if they're giving feedback, if the audience likes something. If I could do that in a way that is more sustainable, that I also enjoy, I think it's a win-win. So you never know, it could come back, but I think for now, probably not.
Yeah, I remember giving you some feedback saying, hey, more gym shots.
Yes.
Because you mentioned, I'll go to the gym later. Just so people know, I did follow Henry and his daily vlogging, not for the whole 70 odd days, but I was there for a bit of the journey. And yeah, I remember seeing you talking about going to the gym, and I was like, oh, I remember when I had time to go to the gym. More gym shots, please. Yeah. And then you actually replied to me and said, oh, is that something that you'd be interested in? I'm like, thumbs up. And then to my surprise, a few days later, there'd be like a random shot, like going to the gym or whatever. So it does show that you do listen to your audience, which is really good. But also with this whole experience of daily vlogging, it's great to have all this knowledge of knowing what works for you. Have you found that it has also translated over to your client work, knowing that, oh, well, this kind of content worked for me. Maybe I can incorporate this into my paid work with my clients?
That was actually a big reason, not for the stories, but when I was posting on LinkedIn, and also I started posting on Instagram in Reels during this time as well. And that was a big reason why I actually started this whole social media kind of process. Is I was like, hey, I want to figure out what works so I could actually use that for my client stuff. And I think a lot of the learnings that I did learn from that, even if they're nuanced or small things that aren't super obvious to maybe that I picked up that might not be super obvious to me because I've just learned to do a lot of those things out of habit. But I do think it has made an impact on the way that I view client work and how we can make it more impactful and things like that. And that was probably also, throughout that time, I was, I guess, watching a lot of YouTube, reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts on social media and how to make that better. So it's like a culmination of all those things. But I do think that the learnings from the stories, the learnings from the Instagram Reels, and the learnings from LinkedIn have all contributed to me feeling a lot more confident about social media as well. And I think I can prescribe solutions that would be more effective these days than if I hadn't have done this, because I just have a lot more data. And even if that data is specific to me and my audience, I can translate that to be like, well, what are their audience and what would they like? So definitely.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that today. And thank you for coming on the Your Story Studios podcast.
Thank you.